portion of this video is brought to you by Ground News. For more information about Ground News, visit the link in the description or wait till the end of this video to hear more from me. People are starting to wake up, and it's a good thing. People are lamenting the mistake that they made. And look, I don't give people a lot of leeway. I don't give people a lot of the benefit of the doubt because we know who Donald Trump is. Farmers are waking up like, oh shit, he's really trying to screw me. I might lose my farm because Donald Trump is running roughshod to try to justify tax cuts to the uber wealthy in this country. Your taxes will go up if you're middle class, even if you're maybe upper middle class. But if you're a rich person, you're going to be far more well off than you were before he took office. It's a stated fact that their objective is to loot the treasury, diminish the storehouse of funds that the United States currently has in order to make obscenely wealthy people even more obscenely wealthy. And farmers and regular voters, red states are realizing that their economies are going to be decimated. I did a video yesterday about clean energy contracts that aren't going to be paid. They're going to be canceled. That are going to disproportionately hurt red states, right? Well, Venezuelans who are refugees to this country, who were given temporary protected status by Joe Biden, are now very worried, even the ones who supported Donald Trump vehemently. Now, obviously, some of these people are new immigrants to the country. Some of these are refugees. They're not citizens, so they didn't vote, but they have family members in the United States who did vote for Donald Trump. And let me tell you, there's a lot of shock right now. Like, what? I thought he said he was only going to deport criminals. We're not criminals. These people aren't stupid. I'm not going to do the noble savage thing where, oh, they're just so innocent. And it's human nature. We understand people. So when Donald Trump is talking about immigrants and he's highlighting all of the crime, they're eating the pets. They're eating the cats and the dogs. That was a lie. Just like when he says that the majority of criminals or immigrants are criminals, so we're going to get them out of here. He's talking about all of you. He's talking about all brown people. The Republican Party is the largest, most effective white supremacy organization on the planet for a reason, because of their actions and the things they believe and the policies they try to enact. So I'm going to read from this headline, and it's one of these f*** around and find out moments that, look, I have sympathy for people because a lot of these people have kids, and the kids did not ask for what's getting ready to befall them. Their parents made a stupid choice to support, vocally, maybe convincing members of their family to vote for Donald Trump. And that's not the kids' fault. That's not innocent bystanders' fault. But it does take me a lot of energy. I have to really compel myself and think about it to not just languish and to just luxuriate in schadenfreude of just like, you know what, you brought this on yourself. I have very little sympathy, and the bandwidth of my sympathy and empathy really should be directed toward people who deserve it, and I don't know that they do. Here's the headline from the Washington Post. Venezuelans backed Trump. Now some worry he'll deport them. Venezuelans in the Miami suburb of Betrayal have been some of Trump's biggest proponents. Many feel betrayed after he revoked temporary protected status for thousands. Ronald Bellerin decided to flee Venezuela for the United States during President Donald Trump's first administration, convinced the Republican leader would protect people like him who had been targeted by an autocratic regime. Now the university professor, not a dumb guy, an educated, well-trained individual, a university professor. Now, the university professor is worried the Trump administration is going to deport him. The Department of Homeland Security has canceled the temporary protected status given to thousands of Venezuelans who have arrived in recent years. Bellerin's permission to work in the United States is set to expire in April. Clock's ticking, Professor Bellerin. Tick-tock, brother. Maybe you should have thought about who you supported, who you vocally supported, who you attempted to get people to vote for before you did what you did. April's banging down your door. So his permission to work in the United States is set to expire in April, and his shield from deportation in September. He's got a little bit more time. Quote, "Today, I feel the same way I felt in Venezuela, that they're going to come take me somewhere I won't be able to escape from." It's harsh, right? This guy who knows the misery and the terror of living in Venezuela feels now, living in the United States, just like he did when he lived in Venezuela. And he helped bring it about. Bellerin said, tearing up as he described his family's ordeal, "It's terrible to feel this way here in the United States." He paused for a moment to compose himself. "I thought we would be safe here. And yet, you supported the election of Donald Trump." Again, look, I want to appeal to the better angels of my own nature. I want to be someone who is just overflowing with compassion. But it's very hard knowing the kind of harm that will come to tens, if not hundreds of millions of Americans because of Donald Trump. And if you supported Donald Trump, knowing what we know from 2016, like this professor does, knowing what we knew from 2020, knowing what we knew through the campaign up to now, and Donald Trump's been on the scene for roughly 10 years now, it's no surprise of what his motivations were. It's not a surprise about how he feels about immigrants, about migrants, about Mexicans. They're not sending their best. We know how he feels. And yet people still gave him the benefit of the doubt. The decision to cancel temporary protected status for hundreds of thousands of Venezuelans has ignited fear, confusion, and outrage in this Miami suburb, which is affectionately known as Venezuela. Venezuelans here have been some of Trump's biggest proponents. Even if many could not vote, they attended rallies, decorated their front lawns with Trump flags, and took to social media to support the man they thought would prioritize removing Nicolas Maduro from power. For many Venezuelans, Trump's decision, feels like betrayal. Does it? Does Trump's decision to harm you like he said he would do, does it feel like a betrayal, or were you just not listening? Listen, there's certainly a history in the United States of immigrants who come here, refugees who come here during a certain president's term, that they tend to skew conservative. The Vietnamese refugees after the Vietnam War and during the Vietnam War who came here, a lot of them are very conservative. I used to live in Orange County. There's a large, vibrant Vietnamese population in Orange County, California. And a lot of them are conservative. Michelle Steele, I think she just got beat, but Michelle Steele was a congresswoman who represented the congressional district I used to live in at one point. And then I moved to Katie Porter's district. But she was a Republican, a nutty, wild, insane Trump sycophant Republican. And she was Vietnamese. So Cubans, same thing. A lot of them love them some Ronald Reagan because he opposed Fidel Castro. So it's an intertwining, very complex thing we're doing here. But listen, it's not so complex that you can't listen to someone talk and understand what their motivations are and then vote against or support what are not in your interest, what are counter to your interest, what are against your interest. Final paragraph, it's a quote. "The Venezuelan community gave President Trump their support," said John De La Vega, a Venezuelan-American immigration lawyer and Army veteran. "This is completely different of what I thought it was going to be." Is that because you're not paying attention, or is it because you believe you were one of the good ones? Donald Trump, I'm not a criminal. Donald Trump's not going to kick me out of the country. Again, it's another deal where Donald Trump people are starting to wake up, finally starting to wake up to the damage that will be done to themselves. Eventually, Republicans are going to start waking up to this. Are they already starting? They're realizing it. the promises that were made that animated them and motivated them to vote for Donald Trump, and those issues that really were so important to them aren't even being addressed. In fact, the problem that motivated them to work is actually getting worse. The economy, the prices, groceries, such a beautiful word, all of that nonsense. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about that. Doesn't give a shit about them. Certainly doesn't give a shit about you or me. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. You can comment below. That'll help the algorithm to share this content with new possible subscribers. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. I'm almost to 1 million subscribers, which is just insane. Yesterday was huge when I asked for people to subscribe. Like 20,000 people subscribed. That is a record for me. I've never seen anything like that. So I appreciate that the message resonates and you are passionate for making this country a better place. Again, call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. Email me daily at dollemore.com. I do want to hear from you. I love and appreciate you. I'll see you next time. Be genuine. Take care of one another. You hear me regularly talking about Trump's playbook to consolidate power. But his appointment of Kari Lake to lead Voice of America takes his attacks to a uniquely disturbing level. Lake, like Trump, has made a career of attacking journalists and denying facts. She will now be in charge of an independent network whose purpose is to provide unbiased reporting. If you search this story on Ground News, it's laid out for you. Hundreds of articles clearly organized by perspective, and nearly all of them flagging serious concerns about the editorial independence of Voice of America. And yet, the America First crowd continues to call this appointment fair. The rest of us should call it what it is, though: propaganda. Trump knows that controlling the narrative is the first step to controlling the populace. Don't take my word for it, though. Go see for yourself. I use Ground News to help me critically analyze the news, and you should too. When algorithms decide the news you see, it's easy to feel powerless and uninformed. Let Ground News help you get a more complete view of the story. They are the only platform not trying to tell you what to think. For a limited time, you can get the same Vantage plan I use for nearly half the cost. Go to ground.news/Dollemore or scan my QR code to get their top-tier Vantage plan for 50% off, which comes down to just about $4 per month. Ground News is completely independent, nonpartisan, and they are not manipulating algorithms. They also don't show ads on their platform for clickbait. Instead, they organize every story by perspective, highlighting the outlet's bias and credibility, as well as their financial backers, so you know exactly who is controlling the narrative that they're spinning. You can filter out extremist outlets to focus on reliable reporting that actually matters. Think of the time you can save when sifting through biased coverage and misinformation. You might even find a new and highly credible outlet that could use your support. So your Ground News subscription would also protect independent media voices that are daily under attack. We're watching institutions that keep our democracy transparent and accountable crumble right before our eyes. That's why I trust Ground News to make sure the truth never gets buried. You should too.